What's up everyone, this is Gill, and today I'm going to do a demonstration of the Roland TR-808 drum machine. Now this particular drum machine is a classic. It was manufactured in the early 1980s by the Roland Corporation, and although it didn't sell well initially, it did become a favorite for producers and engineers making hip-hop and R&B music in the decades to come. And the interesting thing about the 808 compared to most drum machines is it created all of its drum sounds using analog synthesis. So it didn't sound like actual drums, still doesn't sound like actual drums, but it creates a great sound for a lot of hip hop and R&B records. And so right now I'm going to do a quick demonstration of how the 808 works, and I'll be playing some beats. So unfortunately, since the 808 is no longer in production, I was unable to get my hands on a physical 808, but there are some pretty faithful recreations of it online. You can buy a plugin for it on Sweetwater for $150, or you can also play it for free on this website called io808.com. And so far, this is a pretty solid recreation of the 808, and so today I'll walk you through how everything works. So this first button I'll show you is the start and stop button. This button allows you to start your recording or your playback, and select your basic rhythms, and then you can stop at any time you want right here. After that, I'll show you the basic rhythms going from 1 through 16. And you'll choose your rhythms as if all 16 of these beats make up a whole measure. Beats 1 and 9 would serve as half notes, as you see right here. 1, 5, 9, and 13 would serve as quarter notes. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15 are your eighth notes. And all the notes here from 1 through 16 can serve as quarter notes. So then after that, there's also the intro and fill-in variation, which works for the last 4 16th notes at the end, where you can choose between making an intro or a fill. You can choose between two different fill variations. And there's a tap button for that. There's also your main volume controls, where you can turn it down to as quiet as possible or make it super loud. I normally like to have it right here on 7. Then there's also your basic variation controls, where you can create two different beats on the 808 machine with 2 different measures, and you can switch between them if you want. Or you can use A for the first beat, B for the second beat, and you can automatically switch between measures using the AB option. For your tempo, you'll use this knob right here for the main for some of the large scale tempo changes, some of the more general broad tempo changes. You bring it to 0, you'll get it really, really slow. You'll get it to 10. It'll be super, super fast. Although mid-tempo would be around 4 and 5. So actually 4, it's still decently mid-tempo. Now for for some fine tuning on the tempo, and to help find more specific tempos, first you'll want to make sure you have a decent tempo range selected on this larger scale knob, and then you can fine tune it with the other tempo knob. You go to where you can slow it down a little or speed it up a little. Then there's also the option to where you can select how many measures you would want to play. I have it set on manual, but you can have it play anywhere from 2 to 16 measures. Then here's also the knob where you can select between two patterns. You can select between a first pattern, a second pattern. You can play it manually. Then there's also play and compose, which unfortunately play and compose are unsupported on this free version, but you can get it on the paid version that Sweetwater offers. And then this option right here allows you to clear the patterns. And then there's a step number and a prescale. I'll reset this just in case. And then finally, I'll show you the instruments themselves. The analog synthesized drum and percussion instruments that are used. So this knob right here allows you to select certain instruments or instrument parts along with the basic rhythm tracks. So I have the knob right here now on bass drum. There's also the snare drum, the low tom, the mid tom, the high tom, rim shot, snare rim shot, hand clap, cowbell, cymbal, open hi-hat, and closed hi-hats. And then there's also an accent button where you can access certain notes and rhythms to be played louder. And then the 4th through 8 options on this instrument selection knob allow you to give different options. So instead of low through mid and high toms, you can play congas. Instead of the rim shot, you can play claves, and instead of the hand clap, you can have the maracas. There's also individual volume levels for each specific instrument, and you can also change the tone levels, and you can change the tone levels for the bass, snare, and cymbals. You can change the decay time for the bass, cymbal, and hi-hats, or you can change the snare drum to make it more or less snappy. Then finally, the congas and the toms have a tuning feature where you can change how high or low they are tuned. So right now, let's have some fun creating some drum beats. So I'm going to click start, and then I'll start with the kick and snare, and then add some cool beats and variations as we go. So it's on right now. I'll have the bass on every quarter note. Now I'll add some snare. Actually, first I'll demonstrate how you can change the sound of the bass. Here I'm changing the tone. As you turn it down, the bass tone sounds, way duller and doesn't have as much punch. But here it's a lot sharper and it has a lot more punch. I can also change the decay time to where it decays almost immediately. And then this one has a lot more decay time. Now I'll add some snare. I'll add it on rhythms 5 and 13, which would be beats 2 and 4, while the basses are on all 4 beats. Change the tone on the snare a bit. If you turn it down, you'll notice more of a hand clap sound along with the snare sound. If you turn the tone up, it'll sound a lot higher and a lot more fizzy. And you can also adjust it to make it more snappy. As it is here, it's right in your, kind of more in your face. And then if you turn it down, not only does it lose its snap, but it also doesn't sound much like a snare either. It keeps just the hand clap sound. Now I'll add some hand claps on beats 2 and 4. Or I could have it as maracas. Which aren't really as audible, but it's still an example of the many variations and all the different instruments you can use on the 808. I'll go back to hand clap. Now I'll play the hi-hats. I'm going to use all 16th notes on the hi-hats. And now let's say I want to replace an instrument, so I'll go to the snare drum. I'll take out the snare beats. And I'll replace it with a rim shot. Yeah, I can't really hear a difference on this one. Let's see what claves sound like. Well, I'll go back to the snare. And then let's say I want to add some cowbell, because I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. I turned the cowbell level up. No, oh, now I turned it down again. So yeah, So yeah, have fun with the 808. You can't break anything, you can't damage anything. It'll be a lot of fun. And I'll turn it up on my headphones so you can hear it better. So yeah, anyways, that was a quick demonstration of some of the many things that you can do on the Roland TR-808. Thank you.